we're digging into some features that maybe you guys don't utilize enough. Today is not the day where we're going to be talking about new features, but we are going to be talking about how to get the most out of the features that we already have. And this might tempt some of you guys to tune out because you're like, I'm here, I use it. But I can promise you there's probably one or two things that are just kind of missing that if we added to your tool belt here, that's going to help you get the best ROI. ROI. I wish I could
Or
say things today.
ROI.
There we
Yeah, I
go.
mean, at the end of the day, like we all want to be more efficient. We want to be healthier. We want to have more time. We want to have better relationships. We want to have all the things. And I mean, just some things. If you've ever texted Nick, said this to Nick, me, or Jamie, um, that you're like, oh man, I want to utilize Lead Champ more. I want to be more organized. I'm just moving too fast. This call is for you. People say that, right? I'm just moving so fast, and we get visions of you in your office, just moving around. That's what Derek does. He's just moving fast. I'm fast, boy. I'm fast. That's what people say. If you've never said that or heard somebody say that, you don't know what we're talking about, and you're missing out. With that said, yes, I mean we have AI. Appointments are getting booked. It's actually getting crazy. Over 500 appointments a week are getting booked. We ran some stats, and we have people on the platform right now that are selling $40,000 issue paid and above. That like 70-80% of all their sales are coming from AI appointments. Now, if that's not happening for you, maybe we should have a conversation. Join join office hours, and we're happy to talk with you. However, if you plan on being here a year from now, right, hopefully you're more profitable than you are right now. Hopefully you have more clients than you do right now. Hopefully you're in a better financial position you are right now. Because at the end of the day, we're not doing this just so we can show up on a leaderboard. At least I don't think so. Jamie, are you here just to be on a leaderboard?
I mean, I like being on the leaderboard, but no, I'm not just here for that.
Yeah, yeah, you have bills to pay, you have family. I have my daughters, they just want to live at the beach. They want to live inside of Disney World. They found out that's a thing that you can actually do. So we're gonna talk about that. So where do you want to start, Jamie? Do you want to start in the client stuff and we'll work our way around?
Well, I feel like I just broken record. We talk about it all the time. I have to come back. Nick even already said it. I will say it again. The what happened button. Now we're going to dig into some of the nuances of some of the action buttons today, client management and things like that. But it's like if you don't even have the foundation of dispositioning your leads after every call, after every appointment, everything that we're going to talk about now really just is going to go completely in one ear and out the other, and it's not going to matter because you can't manage your policies if you're not submitting your policies. So, we got to start there. So, I had a conversation with one of our top agents in the system. I won't call him out. He'll know who he is. But he had a conversation with him. He came up as number 3 for the week for AI booked appointments. And I was just like, what is going on? Why am I not seeing this person who I know is like on a Hall of Fame run right now, selling 30, 40, 50 grand a month? Why am I not seeing their sales in the system? And is a friend of mine. And so like I'm naturally concerned. And obviously if we become better friends, I'll become more naturally concerned about the status of your account. Maybe I'll call you too. But this person, I called him like, hey man, what's going on? And he literally said what Josh said. He's like, I'm just moving too fast, bro. He's like, just started a new office, just this, just that. I actually haven't even been putting my clients in at all for like the last couple of months. And I have my assistant who is just kind of keeping track of everything in a spreadsheet. And like, I put my hands in my face because we're on Zoom. And I'm just like, dude, you're paying us. You've been paying us for 6 months, a year, and you just decided to stop inputting all your clients into the system. He's like, I know, man. I know. I'm just moving too fast. I'm like, dude, slow down. Like, slow down for just a second. And I was like, hey, man, quick question for you. On average, how long does it take you to go through an electronic application with a client? And he goes, anywhere between like 20 and 45 minutes. I'm like, and you're telling me that you can't take another 2.5 minutes to fill out one more form. He's like, dude, you're right. And I'm like, here's the deal. Like, you just spent 45 minutes on the phone with Mary, selling her a final expense policy, protecting her mortgage, doing all of these things. And I'm like, okay, you've got 15 clients from last month. Do you remember why you sold any of them the policy now that it's been 2 weeks, 3 weeks? He's like, no, I don't. Hey, do you remember that XYZ carrier? As soon as you press submit, you lose access to all of the data, like the address, this and that, etc. He's like, yeah, you're right. I'm like, dude, when it's fresh, input it into the system so you have it for later. When the Y is fresh, input it into the system so that you have it for later. Because I promise you, you're not going to remember. I promise you that. So the number one thing that I just have to harp on more than anything, the what happened button, it doesn't just say what happened question mark. It says what happened with parentheses. Do this after every appointment. Now we didn't have to put the parentheses there, but I felt like it was needed because we need to remind people like do this after every appointment. So you've got showed and approved. All right. So I get off a call with Billy earlier. We did a mortgage protection. I'm not the person, I used to do this, where I would wait till the end of the day to send out all of my emails with all the policy info. If you wait till the end of the day to do all of your what happened buttons, like you're going to forget. Do it while it's fresh. I am late by about 3 minutes for every single appointment. I am. Sometimes I'm late by 45 minutes and I call the people, it doesn't even matter. They were either going to no show me anyways or they weren't even paying attention. And if they are mad, who cares? But I'm late by about 3 minutes for every single appointment because I stop and I hit the what happened button. I fill out the why. It's like if I'm running behind, I'm willing to be late to spend a little bit of time doing this. Like when I remember when I was in the home, I think it might have been Grady, somebody, in my amazing, mentorship team, they said, help the one you're with. So it's like I'm writing 3, 4 applications in a house and I'm running 45 minutes behind. And I know with traffic, I'm going to be an hour and a half late to my next appointment. And it's like, hey, help the one you're with. So like I'm not moving on to the next person until I'm done with the one that I'm currently on. So simply filling out this form, which is not a 45-minute process, it's legitimately a less than 2-minute process. Getting that done, pressing submit, whether that's, showed and approved or sent to underwriting, that is going to be the biggest use of your time is if you actually made the sale. If you didn't make the sale, it's like 15 seconds of your time. So you call the person, they don't answer. I press the no show button. Okay, easy enough. I get on the phone with the person and they go, hey, Jamie, I just got laid off. Call me back in a year. And you're like, I'm not calling you back in a year, but I will put you into the not now campaign. Click, click, submit. Awesome. Hey, Derek, it's Jamie. Nice to talk to you. When your needs about insurance change, here's my cell phone number. Done. 45 days later, he's going to start getting dripped on. The only other one, then we'll talk about a couple of these, but like that I think are underutilized. We'll dig into them, in terms of the nuances of how we maybe actually use them practically. But think about an incomplete. Think about it. Might take you a few minutes because you can add a couple illustrations, put some options, some quotes together. There's some strategy behind how you do that. There's a drip involved. Incomplete, somebody who, hung up on you, didn't have their bank account, wife wasn't home, you're in the middle of a presentation, need to finish, push them over the finish line, you know, using that. And then, of course, you got terminate contact. And like just that, I'm using that after every single appointment, no matter what. And then same thing with the action buttons. You've got change pipeline stage, not interested, phone number incorrect, whatever those things are, moving them to, second call, third call, fourth call, fifth call, etc. So just that. Those are the foundational basics. So it's like if you're not doing just those two things right now, which is basically dispositioning after every appointment or dispositioning the pipeline stage after every phone call, then the rest of this is going to go completely over your head. And I'll toss it back to you, Josh, for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, again, the reason to do all those things is, like the person you talked about, right? He's also paying an assistant, but what is that assistant? That assistant doesn't have great information to actually do anything with. right? They don't have all the policy information. They can dig some of it out. God forbid they have to call one of the carriers and service that. They're going to have limited information. And so, think of LeadChamp as like somewhat of an assistant, but you have to, and this was something, Jamie, you and I have had the same assistants for almost 5 years, Justine and Gia, they're awesome. But I remember when I first hired an assistant, um, and this wasn't Justine, I was like, I hate having an assistant because I have to take time to tell them what I want. And the act of telling them what I want was like, I'm moving too fast. And I was like, you're being ridiculous. You know what I mean? How are they supposed to know what you want and what to focus on if you don't take 5 minutes and like write it down and teach them? And we all find ourselves in that trap. We go, well, it's faster for me to do it than to give it to somebody else, because giving it to somebody else means you have to sit down, write something out, thoughts, and you're not moving. And we're all highly caffeinated ADHD salespeople that just want to call the next lead. Guilty as charged. Okay. Yeah, 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 yeah. There you go. So I'm gonna show an example of what happened to me yesterday. Of course, we won't be able to I'll have to blur this out. Won't be able to record this. Has some personal information here, but for everybody here, I think it's a pretty good lesson, right? Because, and then we'll talk about all the money that you've saved in your process. So this was a client, not a client, a lead that I enrolled for a policy back in, let's see, 20 October of 2024. All right. So I had the notes here. So I put all the notes in. This IUL is set to fund over 10 years. And then I saved all the documents. All right. So every time I write a policy, I save everything. I save the application. If the carrier will let me download it. If there's an illustration involved, I save that. Um, whether I'm doing a financial inventory on something digital or a piece of paper, or I keep the notes in there, I save literally everything. I'm not going to show it. I even got this guy's driver's license because, during the underwriting process, sometimes you have to send that in. In this case, I did, right? But I have his original illustration I did with F&G. And so two things. One, somebody said recently, oh, I don't care about annual reviews. I'm just going to buy some more leads. It's like, oh my gosh, annual reviews, there's huge money to be made in annual reviews, and it's money you don't have to spend to talk to those clients. But if you don't have any information, how are you going to do that? Also, in this case, what happened was he did not get approved for this policy. And so I was actually able to go back through in my notes and see what happened. And you'll notice right here, and I can scroll up and show the conversation, but right here, he went into underwriting, but he never went into approval. And I started reading through the notes, and I go, oh, I remember this guy. But anyways, happened 2 years ago. So he gets a birthday message from me. And then yesterday he's like, hey, we need to get in touch. I'm trying to call you. And so we end up having a conversation. Now I have all of his policy information that we submitted for back then, policy numbers, why, right? So if you're not spending now, if you're not spending any time putting a why down, I'm going to show you what I do. And I would write it. First thing is write it in the way that the person is reading it themselves, right? So like if I just sold Jamie, I would say I'm getting this because so I can take care of Katie and the boys, right? Because when I read it as Jamie, I'm reading it as myself, right? So it makes it more personal. And so anyway, long story short, the reason he did not get approved is he had just got out of surgery. He had some stuff on his medical report. I have his client inventory, so I was like, "Oh yeah, back then you were on such, sertraline and this and that." Oh yeah, yeah. How did you remember that? Took good notes. And he was like, "Yeah, I wanted to get a policy. I saved your information. You sent me that birthday message, and he's like, wow, you're professional." And so now he wants to get a policy, and if we can get him a policy, it's not going to be an IUL. That's going to be a couple grand just because I took that good notes. What would most people have done that aren't hitting the what happened button? It would be on a Google sheet somewhere, and the person wouldn't have got a birthday message because you wouldn't have inputted them. You wouldn't have even known who they were, and you'd be like, probably some random number called me, and you wouldn't even pay attention to it, right? And so taking that little bit of time to take good notes. Now, since I just brought it up, Jamie, let's go through like different places, whether it's think about it, show and
Yeah.
improve, sent to underwriting. It talks, puts in the why and the notes. So we'll get into some like Loom stuff here in a second. But again, anything that you would add there on that you do when you write those out.
Well, just kind of one philosophy I want to throw out there. Like the difference between like going hunting versus like planting a garden. And it's like if I'm in sales, like I go out and I hunt and I get some meat and I come back home. Like that's I make a sale, I get to eat, I fill my freezer. And then I plant a garden. Well, like a garden takes a long time before I can harvest it. Because like people will ask me, they'll be like, Jamie, like how do you have, however many appointments a week, and it sounds like you're spending like half as much as me on leads. Well, a lot of the stuff from the past, like 2 years compound effect, is coming back around for me, number one. So it's like I've got annual reviews that are coming back around. I've got people who got denied for policies that get a birthday message because they were in my underwriting pipeline. I didn't cancel them, and they're like, "Hey, let's talk. Like, what happened to Josh?" So it's like in the long run, we talk about how it's not one thing with Lead Champ that's going to give you your ROI. It's a lot of little random things. So people will be like, well, how often does the no-show button actually convert a no-show back to an appointment? I'm like, I don't know, but more often than I would if someone no-showed me and I didn't, and I had to follow up myself because I care about talking to new people. So you know what? Like it happens more often than me. And then I had one guy who no-showed me 17 times, kept hitting the button over and over and over again, and that turned into a $200 a month sale. So it's like, who cares if it was only once in a blue moon? It happens for a lot of you guys more often than that. But whatever the button is, whether it's I save one policy a month with a missed payment, one no show comes back around, one birthday card turns into a referral. Well, how often does that referral thing actually work? It doesn't matter. If it works one time, it's worth it. How often do people fill out the emergency response network? Not very often, but when they do, I get three new people to talk to, and those are free leads. So there's not one particular thing that kind of makes this thing worth it. But again, like planting a garden, it's like in the long run, when I disposition my leads well, I know who is still like a possible sale and who is not. And the people who are not, I'm dispositioning out and I'm pulling the weeds out of my garden. I'm like, get the F out of here, not interested, not interested, disconnected number, whatever. But it's like if you haven't specifically told me to stop, like you're still yeah, or you haven't bought, like you're still a lead to me. So I'm going to continue to market to you. Does that make sense, Josh?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, every day I could go through my inbox and it's like somebody from a year and a half ago is like, you know, messaging back something. Even if it's like a not interested, it's like, oh wow, they finally answered it. It's so
Yeah.
funny.
I've had three
Um,
people in the last week, Josh, that I've posted in the good news that are leads that were 2-year-old IUL leads. Like I bought them 2 years ago. When I bought them, they were silvers.
oh
So
yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah.
if I bought them and they were a silver, that means they were already a year old. So really they're like a 3-year-old lead. And I'm like going through and I'm like, all right, so we've messaged this person 27 times. I've called this person 67 times in the last 2 years, and they finally responded. And
Yeah.
then they bought a Apollo. And I had, and I sold three of them, which is crazy.
Well, yeah, that guy was from 2024. I'm like,
Yeah.
do we even have lead champ in 2024?
Yeah.
Obviously we did. So, all right, I'm gonna go through two little nuanced things on the what happened button, and then we'll get into some client stuff. Um, so I just pulled up the think about it button. Okay, so a couple things about this is sent to underwriting. A couple things about the think about it. Again, this is one of those things where before we had this, if somebody says I want to think about it, you're like, just trash the lead on to the next. No one's gonna take the time to actually follow up on this because we're all so busy. But now when somebody says think about it, or if I get people that are like, just text me, don't call me. I'll get some of their information. I'll go run some quotes. I'll fill out the think about it button, and then I'll hit send. Now, a couple of nuances about the think about it button. On the form, it says always um, always hit the what happened button directly after the sale, right? A lot of times people like to go book an appointment and then come and hit the what happened button, go do something else and then hit the what happened button. Hit the what happened button as soon as you get off the phone. Reason being is because let's say, has anybody ever had the situation you're talking to a husband or a wife and they go, yeah, this all sounds great. I can't do anything without my spouse. And you try all your fancy objection overcomes and everything. And they're just like, nope. And you're like, okay, fine, let's reschedule, for 2 days from now. Is that it ever happens? Anybody else except for me? Right. And so what I'll do is because I don't know if you know this, if when somebody says I want to talk to my spouse or I need to tell my spouse, I've seen this in person. Here's what that conversation sounds like. You know, hey babe, yeah, I talked to this insurance guy about, $500 putting it into this UIL thing. What do you think about it? I think that's stupid. Oh man, yeah, you're right. That's the whole conversation. It is never more than that, I promise you. So they're not actually going to think about it unless you give them something to think about. So you fill out this button, option one, option two, you can include illustrations. It'll email in the illustration if you have one here. And then the why is where you sell the spouse. We're doing this because John said that, if he dies, uh, you know, my wife is up the creek and can't pay for the mortgage, right? This is where you take the time to sell them on why they told you they're doing this. Furthermore, what I like to do is, even if it's a whole life or whatever, I'll pull up the illustration because, you believe what you see, not what you hear. And I will get on camera, do a Loom video and go, hey, here's why we're doing this. Here's what you picked out. You told me you wanted $200, and I'll go through the whole thing in a minute or two, and I'll paste the Loom video right there in the link. So now they have something to actually show their spouse. My point is, fill this out, send it, and then rebook that new appointment for Tuesday. In that scenario, if you hit the what happened button and rebook the appointment, they're not going to get dripped on. They're just going to get the initial, here's all the information, and then they're going to get the appointment reminder. So you can tell them, hey, I'm going to send you everything, and then you're going to get an appointment confirmation. Make sure to respond back yes to the appointment confirmation. Now, different scenario. They're not going to rebook with you. They're like, yeah, I'm going to think about it. I'll let you know. And you're like, yeah, I'm definitely never talking to this person again. You're going to hit the what happened button and not book a new appointment. Now they're going to get the same information to start, but in several days, it's going to be like, hey, did you think about it? Do you want to try to get approved? And it's going to start dripping on them over the next year to try to bring them back to what they thought about. But if you don't know that, people will set the appointment, then hit the what happened button. Now their appointments are getting dripped on, and it's kind of weird. Okay, so that's kind of nuance number one. Anything you'd add there, Jamie, before we move on?
No, I think that's the most important thing is just whatever you want to happen, whatever you want to be the thing that ultimately happens, do that last. So like if I book the appointment last, it will remove them out of any other campaigns and just be in the appointment booking. But if I did not book an appointment, I just put them to think about it, they're going to get dripped on with those options. So if I want to do a think about it and just kind of have a one-off message, I'll do that followed by booking the appointment. And if I want to drip on them, I will not book the appointment.
Nice. All right, next one is incomplete appointment. And this one is slept on quite a bit. An incomplete appointment is somebody that you did not get to show numbers to. This is often your annuities. This is your IULs you have to get back on the phone for an illustration. This is like what I'm doing, let's say it's a mortgage protection. And I'm talking to a husband and he tells, I find out he's got a spouse and they're not around. I'm gonna dig in and be like, basically, like, can you make decisions without your spouse, or are you like me? And if you spend money without your spouse, she'll kill you. And he's like, oh yeah. I'm not gonna go through the whole thing. I'm just gonna, get some client inventory stuff and be like, hey, let's reschedule. I'm gonna put some things together, and I'm gonna put in the incomplete appointment and then reschedule. Now, this is not a workflow campaign. This button we made because I lost a piece of paper with a name on it of a lead and it cost me $10,000. Okay. So I don't know if that's ever happened to you. You had this one lead, it was like a big one. And if, you just had to follow up with them. And if they answered, they would probably buy. And I lost it. And I was like, I'm sick of this. I have all these things I'd like to follow up on, but they just get lost in the sauce. All right. So you fill out the incomplete appointment button. You put your notes in and listen. Like Jamie said, you're not going to remember. I can't remember anything. And the future Josh is always mad at the current Josh because I took poor notes. I get on the call and it's next Thursday at 2 and I see John Smith. I was like, who is John Smith? And we get on the phone. They remember me and everything about what we talked about. I can't remember anything. So take good notes.
I mean,
Okay.
I write when I have an incomplete appointment or if I have a reschedule, I'm writing down like I had a guy, I'm like, I called this dude 6 times, he bitched me out, and then I was able to convert it into an appointment. Like I want to remember that. I'm like, okay, this guy gets a little bit sensitive on things like that. Or this guy was very particular about giving me his like my appointment earlier. It was a one-legger. Probably should have booked an appointment with the wife. I went with it anyways, ended up closing it. He was pretty reluctant in giving me his account number. So what I did was I rescheduled an appointment with him and his wife a week from now to go over the entire policy top to bottom, made sure she's going to be home. But I wrote very distinguished notes about how that entire interaction went so that I can like speak directly to the wife about exactly what we did because I sold one of those people that said my wife will kill me if I spend money without her. So I need
Well,
to make sure that I am able to explain everything we did and why
Jamie,
we
how
did it.
how many times have you got on the phone and maybe it's a follow-up call, maybe it's a client that wanted to cancel, and then they say some dumb stuff like, "Oh man, like it's always, especially like bigger sales, like IULs and stuff. They're like, "Oh, I can put in $500 a month, and here's why I want to do it, and I want to get my life together and start being more responsible." And then you talk to them 3 weeks later, 2 months later, and they're like, "Oh man, yeah, I went out and bought a new truck, and I just can't afford this." And it's like, well, hey, John, remember when I asked you how much you can put in this, even if the tires fall off the car? And you said $500 is easy, and you said you wanted to do this because of this, and this. And I had one guy, he's like, I was just reading back the notes on what he told me, why he wanted it. He's like, do you just write down everything I say? And I was like, yeah, because I'm here to help you. And if I don't remember, how can I help you? Then you'd just be a number to me. That wouldn't be right. He's like, yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah, I mean, I had a new agent who she wrote one of her first policies, massive policy, so a $5,000 commission on her first policy, and the guy she took great notes. The guy called her to cancel, and she, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? And I'm like, how do you do that? Tell her your manager's calling, and we'll figure it out. So like she just did a three-way call, and she's like, hey, this is my manager, and then I'm like in her lead champ, just reading the notes back to the guy. I'm like, hey, in the last 2 weeks, did you stop being a truck driver? No. I'm like, well, it says here that you were super scared that you've got one of the most dangerous jobs on the planet. Are you still scared about that? It's like she took good notes. And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, what changed? Well, no, I just didn't really understand the policy. What did you not understand about the policy? Okay, great. Let's just go through this. Boom, 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 boom. And he was all fired up, like, we're gonna cancel this at the beginning of the call. And then by the end of the call, he was like, you're right. You're right. Leave it alone. Let's keep it. All because we were able to come back and just bring back the points from the first call. One other point I'll put in here is annual reviews. This is a very, very long-term thinking. This is very long-term thinking. Paul McLean, legend in the insurance industry, he used to go do annual reviews. He sold Hall of Fame for like 10 years in a row, just crazy amount of insurance. And he got to a point where like the last couple of years he was selling, he didn't buy leads, he just did annual reviews. And he had all paper files. And one of the things I remember, he would like write down their dog's name and their kids' names and all these things. So then you go back to the appointment, be like, how's Scrappy, your dog? You're like, how the hell do you remember my dog's name? And I started doing that last year, and it was one of those things where I didn't realize how much it would like affect me taking good notes. But it's like when the annual review comes around from last year, I've got really good notes. So whether that's when you do the beneficiary, do you write down all the kids' names or do you just write kids? Because when I come around for the annual review, I'm like, hey, Bill, okay, and how's Bob and Mike and Tina? They're like, you remember my kids' names? Yeah, 'cause I wrote them down. So it's like just in general, like you can do the bare minimum, or you can take just an extra 10 seconds and go one step above writing down the kids' names, writing down the relationships, the beneficiary, whatever those things are. And it all is going to help. It's like, or I have the notes for one annual review. Husband wanted a policy, it wasn't affordable for the wife. And then it's a year later, I'm like, hey, a year ago it wasn't affordable for the wife. Like, oh, it's affordable for her now. That probably would have never happened if I didn't have that written down. So long-term thinking, like it just seems ridiculous. Like I'm gonna take notes. I don't know what I'm gonna be doing a year from now. A year from now, hopefully, you're gonna be talking to this same client. A year from now, you're gonna be talking to the same client and either like selling them more insurance or getting a family member or referral or an emergency response network a beneficiary a year from now. So everything that you write down, every disposition you do, every note that you take, it all counts.
Yep, yep. All right. So a couple things you can do here. Now, to the point about notes is it's always going to say if it just says case notes or notes, those are fine. If it's going to send it to the client, it will say it. So just make sure to read that. Don't write some crazy notes and it's like, hey, we're going to send this to the client. We'll show you that in a second. Now we have this potential lead value, and it's if you put it in there, and this is like, especially like IULs or something, if you think that like they have a certain mortgage, or they say I can put in such and such per month, put that in there, all right, because that's going to give you a signal later on which clients maybe you should follow up with. So put that in there. And here is what I do on a rainy day, right? We all have them from time to time. Maybe we're not as busy, we're in a little bit of a slump, um, or what have you. Come to your lead pipeline, or you can do a filtered search. And I got 17,000 leads, so it takes a little longer here to load. But you can come to your lead pipeline, and what I like to do is go to my incomplete appointment column and just scroll through it and look for the big ones, right? I'm looking for anything that's like maybe $5,000 or more, and I'm going to follow up with those people. And just, if they answer, you know, they might just buy something. But if you don't put that total lead value in, it's just going to just be another name on your pipeline, right? And so just again, taking that little extra time is going to allow you to do that. And again, maybe it's 30 minutes on Thursday, or you take an hour. Like Jamie, I mean, all the time I'm seeing you put in sales and you're like, yeah, I had a slow day of no shows. I dialed for an hour and boom, made 3 grand,
Yeah,
right?
100%.
All right. So the next thing, let's move over to the action buttons. We talk about the what happened button a lot. The action buttons, I feel like kind of go by the wayside. So Jamie, the big one there is missed payments. What do you think you average per month on an average month on save payments from that?
Maybe three.
Three.
I save
And
3 policies a month,
your average premium is
3,300.
3,300. So yeah, it's like 10 grand a month, 100 grand a year. Now, again, what I would say is what we see is, I don't know, half the people that we put in there respond back, and most of the people that we talk to, they're like, oh, I forgot, right? Like, I don't know. I used to have this thing built in my head, just like sign them up and never talk to them again so they don't cancel. And they're still going to cancel. But what happens, and you don't know this, is they have problems and challenges. Maybe some other agent put doubt in their mind. They saw something on TV that's like you can get $1 zillion of insurance for $10 a month. And they're like, man, why do I need this policy? Or, I had a guy who wanted a retirement kind of IUL set up, and we did that. Max funded it, did all the fancy stuff. And then his wife was like, you're an idiot. You could have got $1 million of coverage, which is the opposite of what he wanted. But because I'd put him in the system and we'd had so much communication and outreach, when he had that doubt, he felt comfortable bringing it to me. Your clients, if you don't put them in, they just ghost you and cancel, and you don't know why, right? So let's see. So if you use the what happened button, they're going to be logged in there, all right? And so the policy status button, think of this as just this is the client management center. And this is something that I have a lot of thoughts and ideas around on how we can improve for the future. This is, there's a lot of stuff that we could do here. But right, maybe you do this. If you have a staff person that's helping you, right? Like they just need to come in here when they get those notices and click the missed payment button. Or Jamie, how good were you at when somebody declined and they didn't get approved, and a couple days later, how good were you at like calling them back and helping them out?
Um, how good? Negative numbers.
Yeah,
Negative numbers. Yeah, if I
yeah,
went
because
all, I'm like, I'm not going back to their house. No
mm-hmm.
way. But I mean, with telesales, again, it takes the emotion out of like, oh crap, they got declined. I ain't going back there. It's just, hey, they got declined. Send them the message, rip off the freaking band-aid. And you know what? Someone will be like, fine, whatever. Don't talk to me anymore. And someone will be like, oh, darn, but thank goodness you're a broker and you got other options you can show me, right?
Yep. So the client message is it's really nice. It's like, hey John, unfortunately, yeah, we didn't get the decision that we were looking for, but remember, I am a broker, work a lot of companies. Let's get back together and look at an option B, right? So it really positions you as, what we are is a broker. So missed payment, same thing. Now, here's the thing is best case scenario, message goes out, they message you back, you get on the phone, you update the payment. Well, now you don't want them to keep getting missed payments, and you don't want them just hanging out in your missed payment column, right? So you got to make the payment current. So you come back in, and this is the thing that's like people probably don't do. I'd say if we went through 100 accounts, we'd probably find hundreds of people that are in missed payment that just are just hanging out here. All right. So when you come back and you put the payment current, that takes them out of that and then puts them right back into your client book of business and kind of sets them straight, right? So make sure you're using that. And then of course, if you cancel, then that takes them out of everything. So sometimes people are like, "Oh, this guy canceled, but they're still getting, all the messages." Yeah, you just got to come here, cancel it, put in the policy number, and you're good to go, right?
One thing I
Um,
want to touch on real quick, Josh, and I think this is probably a big thing that a lot of people don't do is they're just like they're focused on just protecting their chargebacks, but like do me and Gia are putting in missed payments on clients that are 3 years old because again, it restarts the conversation. I had a lady the other day who this is stupid, but like she had a $19 a month accidental policy that I sold in 2021 that lapsed because she changed her bank. And we put her in the missed payment and we set up another, she's like, I had no idea. Please call me ASAP and let's go ahead and get that restarted. And I got on the phone with her and at the time, we sold her this. I didn't realize it because it was so long ago, book of business. I didn't have lead champ, so I didn't have all the notes. So I started talking to her, and I realized that she's 38. She had a bunch of health issues, and at the time, we didn't have a carrier that we could write a final expense policy on her for because she wasn't 45 or 50, where like all the health challenges start, falling to the wayside and being able to get approved. So she couldn't get term. So I ended up restarting her $20 a month accidental, and now like we're in conversations for like a big Transamerica final expense policy because we didn't have that product back then that would have approved her at that age, But it's like this was somebody that was 3 years ago. So what did that take for me to be able to, spark that conversation? It took me putting my entire book of business into the system, number one, and then number two, my assistant Gia, she does a really good job at policy management. So she goes through every single carrier back office multiple times a week and she checks for everybody if their payments are current. Everybody. So that means even people I sold 2 to 3 years ago that I have no issue. If they cancel tomorrow, it doesn't cost, it'll cost me my $5 renewal, whatever, but like I'm not getting charged back. But a couple of those people we've put in the missed payment campaign and they canceled for one reason or another, policy was too expensive, so I got him a new policy, or just whatever the reason was, and it re-sparked that conversation and got me a chance to talk to them again. So not just yeah, like number one thing is let's protect your advances, of course, but also like I don't know how many of you guys are actually going through your back offices and checking all your policy statuses and putting all of your people into missed payments. I guess I'll just back up even a little bit. I doubt that most of you guys are even logging into your back office at all to check your missed payments. To be honest, the only reason I say that is I know how hard it is. It was so hard for me to click the little encrypted email and put in my password. It's ridiculous. Like I wish they would
I
give us an easier way of doing it. I hate it.
I
That,
hate, yeah,
but that's
I
why
hate it
I
so
pay
much.
that's why I pay an assistant to do it because I know I won't do it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
like if anything, like Lead Champ, great, does a lot of automated stuff for you, but like if there was anything, if you're selling at a high level, I would pay an assistant just to check lapse policies, missed payments, etc. Like just that. My girl pays for herself just doing that one job. If that's
Yeah.
the, she does a lot more for me, but if that's the only job that she did every month, she pays her entire salary just by going and checking missed payments and lapse policies.
Amen to that. Amen to that. So with that said, if you have a book of business that you have not transferred into LeadChamp, I would make that a priority. So let me get rid of this here for a minute. Come in here, go to transfer book of business. All right, go to this site here. Watch the video. It'll kind of describe the whole process to you. It will talk about a $500 charge. We are not doing that, so we're not going to charge you to do that. You want to click this button. We have a formatted Google Sheet. It is a little bit of manual work. You have to transfer everybody onto the manual Google Sheet, and then you can upload that book of business. Now, um, we don't have the client stuff up yet, do we? The client button.
It'll be up here in a couple days, hopefully.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, we do have if you just have like maybe less than 20 or 30 or so and you want to one by one do them, we have a way to do that. It's coming here pretty quick. But it's really cool. If you have not done that, let's say, when we started LeadChamp, I had, I don't know, 400, 500 contacts. Clients, I don't remember necessarily. And when we put them in, it sends out a message, text and email. It's like, hey, Jamie, this is Josh, set you up with I don't know, Mutual of Omaha policy for 20,000 some time ago. Just letting you know, this is a new office line. You can still reach me by my cell. And we sent that, and my phone was dancing off the table because people were like, oh, hey, thanks for the message. They were so happy to hear from me. Hey, I want to buy something else. Hey, I want to review my policy. And I was like, wow, should have did this forever ago. So definitely worthwhile. And then you can actually actively manage those policies once they're in the system. The one thing I was going to mention is when you write somebody and they go to underwriting, they're going to sit on your client pipeline. I don't know if anybody pays attention to their Wednesday morning at 8 a.m. underwriting emails. Maybe you tune them out. Maybe you write so much business, you're just like, I don't even care. But yeah, LeadChamp's going to email you every Wednesday of anybody you have in underwriting. And the thing that you need to do is either they get declined or they get approved. So you're going to come into action buttons, you're going to hit approved, and we ask you a few questions. And I'm going to blame this on Nick. We were having a conversation, and I was telling him a lot of times, especially if you're writing accelerated underwriting carriers like NLG, F&G, there's a slew of others. A lot of times you don't know when it's going to get approved, so you don't necessarily know what the effective date's going to be, right? You know, and so I'll see a lot of accounts, they'll put in TBD as the policy number, or they'll just make up an effective payment date. But then they get approved. You want to make sure that's updated. He's like, and Nick goes, people are not updating that payment date for sure. There's probably hundreds of payments that the reminders are either not going out or going out on the wrong date. And I was like, yeah, we have to make it to where people put that in. So yes, we do require to put that in now, and we're just trying to make it so your clients get the best information to help you. So when they get approved, put in the policy number, payment date, and then monthly draft. This is where we do have Social Security billing now. And what that looks like, you fill that out, they get an approval message right away. That's like, hey, your first draft is on this date. All right. It's going to tell them their first draft. And then we got some super fancy code that calculates what their draft day is going to be every single month. And then we're going to email them 2 days ahead of time, remind them about their payment, remind them about their policy, And especially if they're on Social Security billing, that day changes every month, so it's going to change with the month. And then you can go in their contact and see when their next draft date's going to be. So you just have to make sure that's logged in there. Anything you'd add to that, Jamie?
No, I think
Okay.
that's good.
One more little thing that we almost never talk about, and I'm going to take 2 minutes to talk about, is the scheduled text button. This is something that it's like we made it, and we it's like Fight Club. You know, you don't talk about it. You don't talk about Fight Club. But if somebody ever, again, this doesn't, mostly this, like, people just don't think about this. They say, hey, can you hit me up in 2 weeks? Or, I'm coming back from vacation, or I'm out of the country. And especially if you're, you know, running in the IUL and annuity space and you have to do more follow-up, like those are longer sales cycle. Like I'm looking at you, Mr. Robert Everett, right? I know you're in that space. Those probably take a little bit longer to do some more follow-up with. I just kept finding myself in a situation. It's like, well, I don't really want them in a drip campaign, but I know I'm going to forget to follow up with them. Okay. So we have the scheduled text. And there's like in GHL, they have like a little scheduled text thing, but the text would go out and I like wouldn't know that it happened. And I would forget why I'm even scheduling the text, right? Because again, I can't remember anything because I have too much caffeine and ADD and all the rest. All right. So let's say Jamie says, "Yeah, hit me up next month. We'll get back together about the IUL, the annuity, or whatever the thing is." Okay, so I'm going to come in here as soon as I get off the phone because everything's fresh. I'm going to take my notes. This is telling future Josh why I'm doing what I'm doing, and then I'm going to write out the message verbatim that I want to send. And I'm going to write it. I'm going to say, hey, Robert, this is Josh. We talked about a month ago. You told me to hit you up after you got back from Barbados. Want to get back together about the annuity, whatever the thing is. Okay. And then I'm going to pick the date of whatever day I want that message to go out and hit submit. Okay. Now, here's the cool part about it. That's not super fancy. What is super fancy is on that date, the message will go out at 8 a.m. and it's going to text me what I sent to the person and my notes on why I sent it. So I'm reminding myself of what I did and why I did it. Now, whether they respond or not, I can come back in here and, maybe do some additional follow-up once that message goes out. So again, just another tool that you might not use it all that often, but if you don't know it's there, you'll never use it. All right. So Jamie, anything else? I think we've covered some of the nuance. Let's see here.
The only other thing that
Oh,
I might touch on might be the way in which I use some of these send info buttons. Um, I think that that is something that is underutilized as well. So I guess I can share myself here. Okay, so some of these get kind of buried because we've grouped them together, but you've got send videos, send websites, send policy details, and this is about to expand quite a bit with one of our new updates that's coming in the next month. But right now, you can come here at any point in time. I can send somebody to my IUL website, my FIA website, my final expense, my mortgage protection website. People are like, well, how do I, maybe I didn't collect the referral information or the ERN information, and the client wants to input it themselves. You can send them. I don't know if you guys even know this. You have a ERN and a referral website that you can send them where they can click and they can fill out um, the info and create leads for you. Sending them the policy details, that's also a pretty big one. But I typically use more than anything is I send them number one, the whatever product type that I'm presenting on, and then number two, my license. So if there's ever a scenario, it's like, hey, sent you a text before the call with all my license info. Did you get it? Nope. Hey, let me go ahead and resend it. Did you get it now? Yep, got it. And then obviously, if I'm doing a sale, I want to make sure that I'm sending them the brochure with the specific company product. So for me, my couple of things like throughout the appointment, if there's ever like a, hey, my wife needs to hear about this, I'm like, great, watch this video I just sent you and have her watch it too before we talk. We'll reschedule. So I'm like, hey, Bob, we're not going to play the game of telephone. because every time that I try to explain a complex concept to my wife that I don't fully understand, that someone else explained to me, I never do it justice. I'd rather her hear it directly from the source. So just have her watch this video. Have her check out this link. Hey, I don't know about you, man. I don't like giving my social out. Hey, I just sent you a link with my license. Please go look at it right now. Like I'm using this as a presentation tool throughout the entire appointment. So I'm giving them homework. People are like, so, I remember going to people's houses and they'd be like, yeah, I already got a policy. I'm like, all right, can you pull out that policy? And they pull out like a freaking McDonald's napkin with the policy number on it with like a business card, taped to it. And like, here's my policy. And I'm like, what is this? So I want to make sure that I am leaving the best impression, that I'm giving them things to think about. I'm giving them things to reinforce the sale. If someone wants to do their own research, would you rather them go on Google and potentially fill out another form and talk to another agent, or would you rather send them the resources directly? So it's like they go on Google and start learning about how IULs work or mortgage protection works, talk to another agent, or you take 5 minutes to send them a loom. You send them the product brochure on the company that you're working with. You send them the video on your website and you walk them through it. Again, it's just spending a little bit more time and not being lazy, utilizing all the buttons.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So in closing, this is not the hype call that maybe some people enjoy. We'll have plenty of those. We'll have we should get like a collection of like Derek and Elise and some of the people while they're wearing their Lead Champ Pro shirts, and we'll let them run the call once.
That's fine.
I will say anybody that is going to the next Ignite event in Phoenix, we will be there. Um, yeah, we'll be reaching out. We're gonna have a little get together, um, a Lead Champ get together. So be on the lookout for that. If you are going there, we'll reach out, let us know, and look forward to seeing everybody there. Um, Friday we have our office hours. We'll be at next Wednesday, and as soon as we get done here, we'll stop the recording. I see a couple of questions in the chat. We'll handle those before I hop off. Anything else before we get out of here, Jamie?
Yeah, if you're coming to Ignite, get a sick spot. And the night before the event, we're probably going to do some sort of a get together. And then we are considering the day after the event doing a 1 day Lead Champ lock-in where you can come sell with all Lead Champ users. So I know a lot of you guys have lock-ins around the event with your teams, but if you'd love to come hang out with the Lead Champ team, we've got a pretty sick spot, and we're looking forward to seeing you guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody have a great day.